Yeah, this is Steve. I'm with RTD.
Oh, hi, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. Yeah, you're the captain, right, or the chief, the
Yeah, yep.
police?
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I have some questions. Um, First one is the police manual public online? Your guys'
So
RTD?
we're in the process of putting that public online.
Uh huh.
So we're working with our website and everything else. So it should be made public here. I think you did a core request. And I think we're trying to get that done for you for the core request, but it's going to be online here very shortly because there we determined that there's no reason why it shouldn't be like a lot of other departments do it.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that here very soon.
Oh,
I just don't know when the website. We gave all the information to the web designer, so I don't know what date that it's going to happen. But long story short, it will be. Yes.
it will be okay. My next question is is the officer's body camera, is it always recording audio and video, or is it just video?
Yeah, no. When it turns on, it should be recording audio and video.
Uh-huh.
And then in regards to the picture you sent me in regards to Sergeant Dacre, and you commented. So Sergeant Dacre, I mean, he's in a plainclothes uniform. I'm sorry, not soft uniform that day. So he's our training sergeant. He was actually on his way over to Blake Street, which is our Blake Street office. He was going over there to talk to new employees, to talk about police work. And when he walked in the door, that's when there was an incident that was happening right on the parking lot. And someone yelled to them and said, "Hey, there's a domestic type situation." So he went out there and assisted in regards to that. I mean, he's still a police officer, so he was wearing it on his belt, which is allowed because he didn't have a true uniform. He didn't have a uniform shirt. He doesn't have the carrier. He didn't have he didn't. I don't even know if he had his vest on him that day, to be honest with you, but him wearing it on his belt is based off of that uniform because it's a polo shirt, not a police type shirt uniform with pockets. So where he wore it was allowed, as long as he wasn't intentionally restricting it. He hit record and he's not sitting there and putting his hand over it or that kind of stuff. So we reviewed the body worn camera in relation to that whole entire incident, and there was nothing that he did that was outside of our policy.
So you reviewed that body camera of that incident on December?
I personally didn't, but that whole entire incident came in. I don't know if it was you that had asked for the core request for all the video, but all that was looked at to make sure that it was properly recorded and that it was vetted, and we had to do whatever we had to do in regards to releasing it. Yeah. So it was all reviewed.
So here's the thing. I was the one who made the core request for the specific December 8th, 2025 incident. Now I reviewed the whole body cam footage. Most of it is covered up by his jacket. And what he stated, I read all the police reports, and he specifically stated in his police report was that he was wearing his I guess he was not in uniform, and he was wearing his department issued jacket.
Yeah.
So, but I mean.
Hey, Francisco, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you going to be around a little bit? Cause I was trying to call you at 1. I called you at 1. I left you a message. I don't know if you heard it.
Uh-huh.
And I was sitting at my desk for half an hour. I do have a meeting that popped up that I need to get on.
Okay.
But I want to call you back and hear some more of this.
Yeah.
Are you free? The rest of the day?
I gotta run somewhere pretty soon. I don't know how long it's
What
gonna.
about tomorrow afternoon? Are you around tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I got an event thing to go to tomorrow. If you got time Monday, do you have time Monday or Saturday?
Yeah, let's see Monday here. Let me check my calendar. Monday, yeah, I'm actually pretty free Monday afternoon, so anytime after like 11:30. Do you want to just email me? You have my email. Why don't you email me on Monday afternoon?
Okay.
And, email me and just tell me what times after like 11. I do have a meeting from 1 to 2:30. So So if you have something free from like 11 to 12:30, if not, then I can meet you at 3 o'clock. I could talk to you. I could call you back at 3.
Okay, so you said you said 11 to 12:30. Between 11 and 12:30, you're free, and then what was the other one you said?
Then 3 to 4.
Then 3 to 4. Okay, then.
Yeah. So just email me what works best, and I'll call you. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Francisco.
Bye bye. Yes. Hi, Steve again.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Pretty good. Can you hear me?
Okay. Good. Perfect. Yeah, I can now. Yeah. You kind of cut out there for a second. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to follow up on some of the stuff we were talking about. You have a couple minutes?
Yes, I got time.
All right. Perfect.
So I got a question. I'm trying to understand something about RTD police. So you're state police, right? Correct? You guys are state officers.
So we're recognized by the state, right? We're every police department has to be recognized by the governor. So we were recognized by the state. We're in the state statute. But we our jurisdiction, we run through 8 counties and 40 cities. But we pretty much really just emphasize our policing on the rails and the buses and such.
Yeah. So the executive director of public safety, he only allows you to arrest people on your property, right? Like you can't arrest people off the property.
So yes and no. So outside of Denver, we're able to arrest people really any crime we see. But in the city and county of Denver, we're only. And is that what you asked? I apologize. You're asking about Denver.
Denver and other cities. Yeah, I'm referring to Denver.
So all the other cities and counties, they allow us to have full policing ability. But in Denver, the only place that we could write tickets is at Union Station.
Is that Union Station? Okay. So if there's a crime that's
like Civic Center. If I see a crime, if I'm at Civic Center and I see, let's just say, I'm just using this obviously as an example, but I see, somebody assaulting somebody, I could, place that person under arrest, but then Denver PD has to come to do all the paperwork.
So Denver PD comes and takes them, right? Or it just takes over. That's their job.
Yeah.
You go back to patrolling the station and the rail, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so we kind of hand it over to Denver, correct?
Okay, so you hand it over to Denver. Okay, so if something happens 2 blocks from Union Station, that's not your problem, right? That's Denver PD.
Well, if I see it happen, I can still, I'm still a police officer recognized by the state of Colorado, but it'd be the same scenario. So whether it happens at Civic Center, whether it happens 2 blocks away from Civic Center, no matter what happens, I have to hand it over to Denver. Now at Union Station, we're very limited. So it's called the code. It's a code enforcement charges that we could do. So I could do like assault, like urinating in public, trespassing, but I can't do like a drug arrest, or if the assault turns into like more of a maybe a broken bone, I can't do that charge either because that all has to go to Denver.
Oh, okay. So you can arrest them, but you can't charge them with anything. Right.
But I can't charge them, right? So the charges I can write at Union Station are they're very they're really not they're not really jailable. They are jailable, but usually you don't jail people. Usually you write them it's called an order in. So I'll write you a ticket and I'll tell you have to go to jail. You have to go to court in like 30 days. Anything that needs to be jailed, like say for example I contact you for trespassing, but then you have warrants for your arrest. Then I need to call Denver PD, come over to jail you.
So you have to call Denver PD, and are they the only ones who are allowed to transport an arrested person to the county jail?
So yes and no. So you had made that comment about why it took so many officers to transport that lady when she was arrested, and what happened on that one there was the RTD police officer car was the only one that had a cage. So, obviously when you transport someone to jail, you usually put them in a caged, patrol vehicle. So, that officer transported for the Denver officers because they grab, we have so many. So the Denver police officers that work for us that we pay them. It's called secondary employment. We pay them to come work for us on their days off. They'll grab cars. Sometimes, we have some older cars that don't have cages in them. We just didn't feel the need to put an extra $20,000-$30,000 into a vehicle when they're older, right? So sometimes they'll come in and that'll be the only car that they could take. It doesn't have a cage, so then we'll transport for them.
Okay, so this is okay. But why don't you just let the Denver PD drive like an RTD police car, and then RTD? They do.
Okay. They drive our cars, but so we've been a police department for really for like 20 years or so, but we really haven't started really becoming a true police department until 3 years ago. So we have obviously we're buying vehicles that are more police related in relation to having a cage and everything.
Yeah.
So we do have some older cars that they're too old to outfit into a cage. So when a Denver police officer shows up for his assignment, whatever car is available, he'll take, and sometimes they'll take the cars that don't have cages. We have, I have a handful of those cars. Does that make sense?
I understand that. I mean, they could have just told Denver police guys to, hey, take my car and bring it back when you drop her off,
Well, yeah, I mean, technically you could have, but, what happens is we do a whole, it's kind of like, have you ever rented a car before?
Yeah, I've rented a car.
Yeah, so when the officer goes to his car for the day, he walks all around it. He makes sure that there's no dents, no scratches. So then if he starts switching off keys and then the Denver officer brings it back and there's a dent, now we have a whole new problem there. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of one of those things. You take, you have all your equipment in there. You have your backpack. You have this. So, the officer just said, hey, I'll just transport her for you instead of sitting there. Plus you have somebody that's arrested. You don't want them sitting there for, an extra half an hour while you're taking your water bottle out. You're making sure there's no scratch. So the jail is pretty close. So they drove them over there for Denver PD to do the paperwork.
Okay, these off-duty officers that you're hiring, so they're doing it when they're not working. So you're paying them are you paying them all at an overtime rate?
No, we have a set rate that we pay them, an hourly rate.
It's an hourly rate.
They get paid $90 an hour.
So is that above their regular pay, or is that?
Well, I mean, they get paid by Denver, the city and county of Denver, for the hours they work in the city and county of Denver. So, but when they come work for us, we pay them as a contractor. So they get a W-9, and we pay them how many hours they work. We give them the money for how many hours they worked for RTD. So we pay them out of RTD's budget. So it's no different than like if you go to the Rockies game, all those officers are, usually paid by the Rockies. You go to a Bronco game, they're all paid by the Broncos. You go to a bar, the officers that are standing at the bar, they're paid by the bar. So there's a lot of, it's called secondary employment.
Yeah.
So, companies go to the city, county of Denver, they sign a contract saying, hey, I need officers, for a year. Walgreens, Walmart, Whole Foods down in downtown Denver over by all these different companies. Because they don't want to wait for a Denver officer to show up like on a 911 type call. You'll just, you pay extra to have the officer stand there. They do it, they wear the Denver uniform and everything else, but they get paid by the company that they're working for.
Okay, so but you don't pay them directly. RTD pays the Denver Police Department, and then they put it on their check, right?
No. We pay the officer directly.
You pay the officer directly?
If you work 10 hours, I pay you directly. And you sign a W-9, so you're a contracted officer, and, we get their timesheets. We audit their timesheets to make sure they work. They have to call in service. So, we have a lot of measures in place to make sure that they're working and getting paid the hours, so they're not billing us when they're not there type philosophy. And so they're kind of like an employee for us technically, a contracting employee. I mean, they don't get any benefits, they don't get health care or anything like that. But they get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
I read the Denver police manual, and they specifically talk about, off-duty pay and stuff. And they say if you work past your normal hours, you have to get paid an overtime rate when you're working off duty. Like
that's only in Denver. So that what you're reading is a Denver based. So like if I work 40 hours for Denver PD,
then you go work for RTD.
And then I go out and I make an arrest, and then next thing you know, it takes me 5 hours to do the arrest. Denver PD pays me those 5 hours. The officers that come work for us, that's their day off. So they're not getting paid by Denver at all. They come to work for us. It's a second job for them.
It's a second job. So they're not. It's not on their W-2 at all.
I apologize. What was that?
It's not on their. So you're paying them directly, huh? You said they're paying them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they have restrictions. They have to tell their police department that, hey, I'm doing 5 hours on this Friday. You know what I'm saying? Because part of the rules are that they're not supposed to work so many hours a week extra. They can't work so many hours in one day. So they have rules that they follow based off the city and county of Denver's rules in the Denver Police Department. But we just pay. They tell us that, hey, I worked 5 hours, and we just pay them for those 5 hours.
Okay, so you pay them for those 5 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
With these So then what I don't get about that situation I saw, so there was like 4 RTD guys. So why didn't just one stay to transport the lady, and then the other 3 go back to patrolling the trains, They were just, it just seemed too excessive for, one woman who weighs 100 pounds and a 9-month-old baby,
Yeah, well, there's a couple things involved in that one there. They did a lot. They did a lot outside of they went the extra mile to me. And again, we could sit here and you tell me if you feel they did or they didn't. But so she had a warrant for her arrest. She was involved in a situation that we couldn't find the other party in regards to the original call. But long story short is she when she was contacted, she ended up having an arrest warrant. So she was placed into custody, and like I told you that we can't transport for warrants in Denver, so we had to wait for a Denver officer to show up. That's one of the reasons why we paid the Denver police officers to come assist us, because there's some things we just can't do, and we don't want to wait there all day long, right? So long story short is they came, they did the paperwork, but our officers they went above and beyond. I mean, they could have called social services foster care at that point in time, but they didn't. What they ended up doing was, they ended up contacting, working with the lady and contacting, a family member. They had the family member, I believe it was the mom. She, the grandmother. She came out and took the child. And,
no, I know what happened. I know what happened.
It took a little while for all that to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
then, I'm gonna, I'm sorry.
So okay. So you said you couldn't do the paperwork. No, I understand you couldn't do the paperwork.
Yeah.
It just there was 4 RTD guys. So I'm like, why didn't just one stay?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the kind of stuff that you look back after every call. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a situation of the officers are all kind of standing around there. It's the first time that we had a call like that probably for some of the officers. So some are probably learning the system. There could have been, one of the officers, I think was a trainee officer, so you had somebody, like him or her to be, well, actually there's no her, but, for, the male officer, it was just a situation where they kind of still sat around and kind of just was part of the call. We try to tell them, hey, you know what, if you can break back into service and go do something else. But it's one of those things where I can't tell exactly how long they were there. But there's just there's sometimes those times where the officers are just standing there.
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
Whether it be they're learning, whether it be they're helping. whether it be their knocks. That's all the kind of stuff that a sergeant afterwards should really be on scene and say, hey, look, maybe break people up here, go back into service. So I can't, I apologize. I don't know enough of the call to say why they all sat there for so long. But, I'll be honest with you, sometimes those calls, we don't get them very often, at Union Station. So if officers can learn from it, we kind of use it as a training tool,
Okay, I mean, I don't know what they would learn from it. But there was
it was pretty intriguing. They had the warrant. They had, they were trying to find the other party that was involved in the original call.
Yeah.
They had a child. They were trying to figure out what to do with the child. So I mean, there was different things that were kind of going on.
I mean, you guys had 3 Denver police officers there, so they could have, dealt with that. You guys paying them to do that. RTD.
Yeah.
So that way, RTD, you could free up RTD's hands and go.
Yeah.
So that's why I just, it made a lot of people upset at the Union Station because it was like, why are so many people, takes to arrest this one woman, So it didn't make no sense. And, like 2 of them grabbed up on her when she was trying to cover her baby. And I seen in the video, she did it the first time. They didn't even bother to touch her. They didn't care. But for some reason, the second time they decided it was a threat. So I don't know. She had no weapons on her, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What the issue was.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not, again, I'm not gonna go frame by frame, in relation to stuff, but you got to remember too, if I'm standing there and you're telling me something and maybe I'm not a threat at that point in time, but then all of a sudden, if I find out I'm definitely going to jail, I might not see my child again, who knows what reactions you're going to have, right? So, the closer you get to the finalization of the call is sometimes the more dangerous times of the day, right? So,
I agree to disagree.
Kind of makes sense a little bit, or...
Yeah, I agree to disagree on that one. But
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
So I got another question. So you said that they get paid $90 an hour. I don't know. From what I received, yeah, I did calculate $90 an hour. That one officer that you were paying. He is getting paid the most out of all the police officers. That's one thing I noticed, and he's a higher ranking, but it's a Denver police officer, a corporal. But do you know how many Denver police officers you guys are hiring for the like how come you can?
So we have a schedule. I'm not going to tell you all the different hours because I really don't want to tell people what hours of the day that we hire them type philosophy, But we have a contractual. We have an amount that we that we're given in the budget, and we break that up into hours for the officers. So, at any given time, we have anywhere from 2 to 4 Denver officers on duty. Now, a lot of that's determined by if there's an event going on in Denver where they have to cancel the officers for us. If an officer calls in sick, and they don't show up for the day. There's some events where we might say, hey, we need more than 4 officers, depending on, like, for example, opening day for the Rockies or something of that nature, where we're going to have more officers at like Union Station, and so it's kind of every day is a different a different type of something that's going to change that, but realistically we pretty much have at least 4 officers a day. For anywhere from 20 to 24 hours a day, depending on our service, right? Our service routes.
So you always have 4 Denver PD officers on call.
So we don't always have that because they don't always show up, but that's what we try to do. We try to have 4. We try to have 4 Denver officers at a minimum every day. Just because 2 of them really assist us in regards to the downtown area, and then the other 2 will assist us, different areas on Denver, like Federal Boulevard or Broadway, depending,
Okay. Okay, so it just depends. Okay, what was I gonna say? So wait a second. So that alleged domestic incident didn't happen at the Union Station. It happened like 2 blocks away from the Union Station. So why?
It happened at Blake Street, yeah.
So like you guys that's not your territory. So how come you guys just didn't leave that to Denver PD?
Well, it happened in front. So our RTD headquarters building is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So our RTD headquarters building is at 1660 Blake, and so Sergeant Dacre and I can't remember which officer was with them, but they came to Blake Street because that day is new orientation. So for example, new employees are hired like every other Monday. So that just happened to be one of the orientation days. So they were showing up because we have a module within our orientation about RTD police, how to contact us, what we do, all these different things. So they were showing up to give their presentation to the new employees. And what ended up happening was when they walked in, one of the employees had said, "Hey, I think there might be a domestic situation outside," because they came in through like one door. We have different, entrance and exit points at Blake Street. And they're like, "Hey, I think there's a domestic going on over there." So those officers went outside. And at that point, I think the male half had left. So the female half, and so the female half was still there with the baby, and they kind of were, they were kind of, contacting, they were getting some information sort of that she was walking down Blake towards Union Station, and that's only 2 blocks away,
Yeah, but still, I mean, it was off RTD property,
What was that, sir? I'm sorry.
It was still not on RTD property, correct?
Yeah, but I told you before, we're still police officers, so if there's a situation and we see it, or if a crime is committed, we could still take action. We just have to wait for Denver PD to show up, right?
Denver PD.
So we don't just say, "Oh, that happened off property. Let me close my eyes," and then then God forbid something happens, and it's like, well, why didn't you take action, right? I mean, we're still police officers, so.
Okay. I mean, downtown Denver has a lot of police officers, especially after the whole stabbing incident. That guy who killed 3 people.
Yeah.
There's
So I apologize. You said Denver has a lot of police officers?
Yeah, they beefed up their downtown presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After that.
But obviously at that point in time, they didn't have anyone there, right? Because that's So like I said, we assisted them just like we would we would expect another police agency to assist us.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of followed the female. And kind of contact her at Union Station. And then, once they found out, what occurred and everything else, that's when Denver PD showed up, the officers working for us.
Okay. What is, say you don't have Denver police officers hired that day, they didn't show up or anything, they didn't, are sick or something.
Yeah.
What is the typical response time for Denver police, on-duty Denver police officers if an incident happens?
Definitely it varies, obviously based off of their call load. So, there's days where like you said, that's District 6. They might have someone there to help us right away. And there's been other times, that they've, it's taken a long time for them to get there. And again, it all becomes priority level. That's why we hire the Denver officers, because, if there's priority levels in relation to, we need somebody there quickly, then we have the Denver police officers that we pay for, because we don't want to keep our trains held up or our buses held up. Hey, are you going to come to the board meeting tomorrow?
Is it an in-person board meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow it is.
Probably.
Okay, well, when we do this, I'm going to be there.
Okay.
So let's meet there. We could talk some more in person.
Okay.
And kind of go over some stuff. So I'd rather, it must be better than on the phone.
Okay.
So I'll be there. I'll be there 5:30.
Okay.
Again, my name is Steve.
Steve.
I apologize, Francisco. I don't know what you look like, but I'll be in one of the guys in uniform. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like a Mexican guy, so you'll see me.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll see you there.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says that it's time for people to start making their way downtown again, with businesses in the area struggling to regain their footing after the pandemic. He says that he knows that crime is an issue. Today, he announced a plan to do something about it. Fox 31's Gabrielle Franklin is on it tonight, joining us live with the details. Gabrielle.
Yeah, Christine, today the mayor announced that downtown Denver will be seeing an increased police presence soon. Leaders are hoping that making people feel safe will bring them back downtown again.
If we allow folks to commit crimes on our streets and sidewalks without consequence, that also does not solve crime. And today we're here to share that those days are over in Denver.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston wants to make downtown safe again. He says coupled with an investment of $570 million through the Downtown Development Authority, the city is boosting safety so people feel comfortable in the area.
We'll have 10 officers that'll be dedicated just to downtown. That'll include foot patrol, it'll include bike patrol, it'll include motorcycle patrol. In addition, we'll add 3 more shifts of our park rangers, who will be 3 additional shifts a day coming up and through the downtown area as a way to activate and keep that supported.
In an effort with the Downtown Denver Partnership, the city will also add 5 security guards on board. On top of that, the mayor says they'll have a surge of officers on hand for weekend nights when bars close. The city will also add bike paramedics and police kiosks to help people who may need help. The mayor acknowledging with the Rockies opening day, the reopening of the 16th Street Mall, and potential playoff runs from Denver teams around the corner, now is a great time to bring people back in the heart of the city.
I'm super excited about the increased investment. The plan for horses and bikes and foot patrol, it's exactly what we need, and it feels very familiar. And so we've had these things before, and I do hope that they bring us the safety and vibrancy that the mayor talks about.
And those 10 new permanent officers are set to be a permanent fixture in downtown Denver, whereas the additional foot patrols, those are set to be funded for 1 entire year. Reporting live in downtown Denver, Gabrielle Franklin, Fox 31.